Hey guys, welcome back to another What If here using Out of the Park Baseball 23. And this is what I'm really looking forward to. This is going to be a what if free agency never existed and we stayed with the reserve clause. So if we go to league settings, and I can't remember where it all is, it's in here somewhere. I'll find it. I will find it. I want to say it's around here somewhere. Right here, yeah. Enable reserve clause era rules. We are not going to turn on free agency. Free agency started in December of 1975. So it may be something I have to go in and check at the end of every season. I think the game will automatically turn this off at the end of the year, but I think if I turn it back on after that, we should be good. Because I think it will auto update, and I don't remember where to go to change that, to be honest. Global settings. Yeah, I can't remember. It may change automatically, but I'll just go in and remove it. And my goal is to play to the year 2000. My goal is to play through the year 2000. We'll see how it's going. I might go a little bit further than that, just to kind of, maybe I'll come up to modern day. Maybe I'll play 25, 48 seasons. We'll see how long that takes me. I'm not going to play anything. I'm just literally going to click play and click play to the regular season ends. And I'm going to do that 48 times. I'll come back a handful of times, maybe every 5 or 10 years. And we will see how it goes. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The history of the major leagues right now. The A's have won 3 straight. Yeah, I mean, Baltimore won 3 straight titles in 69, 70, 71, or excuse me, they were in 3 straight World Series. And then the A's won 3 straight in 72, 73, and 74. And then we all know about the Yankees of the 50s and 60s. So we'll see if those super teams continue to exist or if we get a little bit more parity. And that's going to be it. So I'm going to go ahead and start simming, and I'll talk to you in about a decade. All right, guys, we are back at the end of year 10, and it's been interesting. We'll just show you the champions, and then I'm gonna go in and take a look at the stats for the very first time. And if there's anybody, I guess before we jump into it, number one, leave the video a like, please. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also in the comments, let me know what other types of what ifs you'd like to see. I've got a couple sort of loaded up in the chamber, so to speak, but if you've got some that you'd like to see, let me know. Also, yeah, that's it. I was going to say, let me know if you want me to take a look at any players in particular, but by the time you guys see this video, it's going to be done. So, yeah, so let's just quickly take a look at the league history. And it was absolutely dominated at the beginning by a handful of teams. I would say in the American League, the Red Sox and the Royals have been the most successful organizations since we started in 75. The Red Sox have made 3 World Series and won 2. The Royals have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 World Series and won 3. Over in the National League, the last couple of years has been the Mets and the Dodgers. They've played in the last 3 NLCSs. But it had been a little bit more spread out. The Expos made a couple of World Series. The Phillies made a couple. The Reds won back-to-back in 76 and 77. So, yeah, you're definitely not seeing the parity. Can we look at each season individually somehow? Yeah, I think we can just by clicking here. So the 75 season, you can see the Red Sox beat the Yankees by a game. Over in the East or in the West. I'm not going to go season by season. That's going to be ridiculous. But yeah, so Red Sox in 75 lost to the Phillies, the Royals lost to the Reds, the A's lost to the Reds. The Brewers then snuck in here, won in 1978 over the Phillies, the Red Sox in 79. The Royals and the Expos in back-to-back World Series in 80 and 81, with each team splitting. The 82 World Series went to the Red Sox, 83 went to the Royals, 84 went to the Cleveland Indians / Guardians, and then the Royals won in '85. So the American League has won 5 straight World Series. I guess we can take a look at. Uh, let's look and see if any of the records have been broken here. So Larry Lintz is the major league all-time leader in stolen bases. He's 36 years old. Played his entire career in Montreal, and he had 5 seasons of at least 100 stolen bases. So that's pretty cool. So we get some addition there, and he wasn't a particularly good hitter, but stole a ton of bases, and he's now the all-time major league leader in steals. That's pretty neat. Nothing else has changed. Reggie Jackson, the career season strikeout leader. Rob Deere with 218 strikeouts this past season to set the major league record. Alan Wiggins in 1982 for the Red Sox just had a stupid season. He stole 153 bases while hitting 329, put up 5.8 WAR, followed it up with 139 stolen bases. Was recently traded to the Red Sox. He had 3 straight seasons of at least 136 stolen bases, and then they traded him to the Giants, where he has fallen off. Is not starting, which is a shame. That could have made for some pretty fun numbers there. Anything else? Nothing from a season perspective offensively. What about pitching? Nolan Ryan, now 38 years old, has 4,000 strikeouts in his career. Has spent really the last 13 seasons with the Angels, and he's a 500 pitcher. It's bizarre how the game imitates reality. 500 pitcher, all-time leader in both strikeouts and walks. Nolan Ryan is still going strong at 38. Anything going on here? Al Hrabosky saved 45 games in 1976. That's the all-time record. Terry Forster is your all-time saves leader. I'm going to take a look at the Red Sox just because they're my favorite team. They had a pretty solid stretch at the beginning of. We'll take a look at the teams that have really been the most successful, I guess. So we'll start with the Red Sox. 6 division championships in 10 years, 2 World Series. Sorry, I'm getting a text from my wife. So 2 World Series, 6 division championships in 10 years. Prospect-wise, they've got Vince Coleman ready to come up. Mark Grant, Mike Jeffcoat. Jim Rice is now 32 years old. 343 career home runs. He has been a staple. Look at those OPS pluses. He has been one of the best hitters in baseball for the first decade of this playthrough. His 2 outfield partners, which I wish these guys had been able to stay together, Freddie Lynn and Dwight Evans. Fred Lynn has been really good as well, has been able to stay pretty healthy, unlike in real life. He's put up 62 WAR in his career. He's a career 300 hitter, closing in on 2,000 hits. Dwight Evans, the offense hasn't been there for Dewey, but he's a really good defensive outfielder, and he continues to go strong. Carlton Fisk stays with the Red Sox his entire career. Not quite as good as he was in real life, but he's closing in on 300 home runs. I don't think he'll get there. So if we look at the Red Sox history, any major changes on base? Let's just look at like home runs and stuff. How did Yaz end up doing? Yaz retired after the 1979 season and made the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. So he came up a bit short because in real life he played until I think 82, but he was really good. So Yaz had himself a pretty solid career with the Red Sox. All right, so that was team number 1. Let's look at Kansas City, the other team that has been really, if you look at their history, they started in 1969. Nice. They have won 7 division championships in the last 10 years with 3 World Series, of course, led by George Brett. Has played his entire career with the Royals. He's already got 2,100 hits at age 80, at age 32, just under 200 home runs. He is a surefire Hall of Famer. Gary Templeton was the fifth overall pick in 1975. Has given them a really solid. Wow, Templeton has hit. He has turned into a hitter in this playthrough. He was known for his glove, but he has 4 200 hit seasons, closing in on 2,000 hits. Already at 55 WAR. Gary Templeton, really, really good. Darryl Strawberry, 5th overall pick in 1982. So look at those numbers for the Straw Man at age 23, already with 122 home runs. Wow. Old friend Rich Gedman is a member of the Royals as well. Steve Busby has had a really nice career. 227 wins, 167 losses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 20-win seasons. Dick Ruthven, last 3 seasons with Kansas City. So those are the 2 teams in the American League that have really led things. In the National League, it's been a little more spread out, if you will. We'll take a look at the Mets first. We'll look at the Mets, the Phillies, and the Reds, because those are the 3 teams really that have, I guess we can look at the Expos too. So if we look at the Mets, New York Mets, see how they've done here over the last 3 seasons. Pretty good starters. John Matlack, 35 years old. He won 23 games last season. He's been with the Mets his entire career. Tom Browning, 25 years old, having a good start to his career. Jack Morris has been with the Mets. Looks like Philadelphia traded him, maybe. Offensively, they've got Bruno, 18th overall pick, now in his 5th season, but they've got Mike Schmidt, which is the big name there. Ooh, looks like the Phillies traded him to the Mets, and he rebounded with a 43 home run season, 512 home runs for Schmidt. Richie Zisk, an underrated player back in the day. Looks like he got traded to the Mets in 76, and he's been a consistent hitter. So, yeah, they've been really good. I mean, this isn't a great team, but they've been really good. The Expos won back-to-back a couple of seasons. Steve Rogers. Not that Steve Rogers. Well, I guess technically, yes, that Steve Rogers, since we are doing a baseball thing. He's been really good. 212 wins, a 2.78 ERA, over 3,000 innings pitched. His career looks like it's coming to an end. Jerry Royce has pitched, I think, most of his career. Well, I guess only the last 5 years with Montreal. Spent his time before that with Pittsburgh. Offensively, they're led by, Ellis Valentine, who unfortunately died in real life before this point, but he's having a pretty good career. Gary Carter, now 31 years old, spent his entire career with Montreal, has been a solid catcher, almost 1,500 hits, over 200 home runs. So they won a couple World Series in a row. The Phillies were the best team initially. We look at the Phillies. They won 3 of the first 4 division championships in the East. They won 1 World Series. This team isn't what they were looking like back in the day. But right now they got Jose Rio, 20-year-old, 10th overall pick. Brian Downing playing catcher, which is where he started. He ended up in the outfield, but in this game, looks like he stayed at catcher. Joe Charbonneau, Arnie Lansford. And who else did we want to look at? Cincinnati. They were the other team. They won back-to-back in 77 and 78. Again, not the same team. But they do have the Rocket, 23-year-old Roger Clemens, the first overall pick in 1983, already with 540 strikeouts in 2 seasons and 17.5 WAR. So look for the Reds to make a run here. They've got Clemens and Viola, so a couple of young studs heading up their pitching, their rotation. Lonnie Smith, not a lot of offense there, though. They do have Galarraga as the number 2 prospect in baseball. So that's where we are after 10 years, guys. So I'm now going to sim ahead to 1995, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at that. So I'll talk to you in a decade. All right, guys, we're back with another update. I started simming ahead and then stopped because I remembered where I was. We are through now 20 years of a lack of free agency, and the last 10 years have really been controlled by a handful of teams in the American League. It's been the A's and the Blue Jays, and I'll show you in a minute. But those two teams have really dominated things in the American League, and in the National League, it's been all about the San Francisco Giants. They have been really, really good. Although the best player in baseball has been, without question, the now 30-year-old center fielder of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Barry Bonds. We'll take a look at him in a minute. His numbers have been just stupid. History index. So we stopped here in 85. You can see Blue Jays won it in 86. Athletics made it in 87. Then it was the Tigers and the White Sox. And then it's been the Blue Jays or the A's each of the last 6 seasons in the American League, each team taking home 1, while in the National League, the Giants have made 3 of the last 5 World Series, winning them all. They've made 4 in total. So we'll start with those teams, and then we'll look at Barry Bonds. So the Toronto Blue Jays, since 1985, have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 division championships, or they've made it to the playoffs 6 times. They have 5 division championships and 2 World Series, 2 World Series appearances. We look at their roster, and again, some of these are going to be a little outdated because some of the players that led them to those championships aren't with the team anymore. But the main components are, so you got Ricky Henderson, who's now 36 years old, still going strong after 15 seasons with the Blue Jays, 2,600 hits, just over 1,000 stolen bases and 84 wins, just over 200 home runs. Maybe not quite as good as the real life Ricky Henderson, but still pretty damn good nonetheless. Tony Fernandez, now 33 years old in his 13th season with the Blue Jays, 2,500 hits, 56 WAR. Albert Bell, they drafted in 1988 with the 3rd overall pick, and he has been really good. Really, really good. 269 home runs at age 28. Chili Davis has had himself a career. The former 1st overall pick in 1980, now 35 years old and sitting on 574 career home runs. An outside shot at, well, maybe not an outside shot, a shot at 600 home runs this year, an outside shot at 3,000 hits, but Chili Davis, a surefire Hall of Famer. Wade Boggs, just doing what Wade Boggs does. He's 37 years old now, just under 2,800 hits. This year and next year should get him to 3,000, but Wade Boggs. So, I mean, that lineup has been absolutely stacked for the better part of a decade. And you're seeing, right? I mean, you're seeing basically what happens with the reserve clause, which is good teams stay good until their players get old. And then the bad teams get good because they have high draft picks, which is, I think, how it's supposed to be. But yeah, that is the Toronto Blue Jays. Out west, the Oakland A's have just been a wagon, I guess, for the last decade. Since 85, they have won 6 division championships, including the last 5 AL West. So they have 1 World Series to show for it, but 5 straight division championships. And they're doing it, I guess they're doing it with pitching. Real Cormier looks like he's had a damn good career. Rest in peace, Real. Damn good career here through 5 seasons. Jose De Leon, now 34 years old. Good last 4 years. Struggled at the beginning of his career with Cincinnati. Was traded to Oakland. Ricky Horton. Good career with Oakland as well. So they've been getting some good pitching. Offensively led by Rafi Palmeiro. 7th overall pick in 1985. 371 home runs through his age 30 season. Greg Jeffries was the 14th overall pick in 86, and he's had a nice career. Nice career. Maybe not elite, but he's had a nice career. Yeah, I mean, they're getting it done, but their offense, I mean, Phil Clark. Will Clark did not have much of a career, but in our world, he's hitting for some power, putting up anywhere between 2.5 and 4.5 WAR. So yeah, the A's have been dominant. They just haven't been able to get over the hump, and part of the reason is because of what's been going on in San Francisco. The Giants have been crushing it. The Giants have won 5 of the last 7 NL West crowns. They had a 97 win season here where they finished in second behind San Diego, which is another team I'll show you. But 5 division crowns in the last 7 years, 3 World Series, and look at their offense. Led by a 26-year-old Gary Sheffield, who was the second overall pick in '88, 221 home runs, a .312 career batting average. Chef is a monster. Larry Walker, 28-year-old, first overall pick in '88. He was hurt all of last season, apparently, but just some crazy good numbers for Larry Walker. Jeff King, has he been with them the whole time? No, he was traded from Oakland. Pitching wise, I think some decent performances. Chris Nabholz looks like he's been pretty good. 4 seasons with San Francisco, he's done pretty well. So they have been pretty dominant. And then the Padres, I believe. The Padres, we look at their team history. They had a couple of years in there. Yeah, so 2 division titles, no World Series to show. And then the last thing I want to show you before we move on here is Barry Bonds. He is now 30 years old. You can see his 30-year-old season, 60 home runs, 156 RBIs. 31 years old, I take that back, but absolutely crazy. 530 home runs through his year 30 season, already 128 WAR in, 10 years? So he's averaging 12.8, 12.9 WAR per season. He's been over 10 WAR every year except for 1992, where he inexplicably only hit 284. But Barry Bonds has been a machine for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I think that's all we want to look at here. Yeah, that's really it. The White Sox had a one-off title. The Tigers had a one-off title. But that's been about it. So we're going to go ahead now and sim ahead to 2005. I'll talk to you in a decade. All right. It is to the end of the 2005 season. We got another 10 years under our belt. This is going to be the last update. I'm going to sim the final 18 years. We'll come back with a final look back at the way everything played out. But I believe we had a little bit more parity here over the last 10 years. So the Giants had their run. They won 4 straight World Series, 94, 95, 96, 97. They made it in 98. They have been the best, I would say the best team of this playthrough. That run right there was second to none. But from there, we had, I guess maybe not. So in the American League, we had, going back to 95, we had the Royals, the Twins, the Yankees. The Twins made it twice. The Mariners, that was the first Yankee win, by the way. The Mariners made it once. The Red Sox won 2 more World Series in 2001, 2003. The Orioles made it for the first time, and then the Tigers are back-to-back. So this 10-year run in the American League looks like it was really controlled by the Twins, the Tigers, and the Red Sox. And the Twins had a string of bad luck. I'll show you their team here in a minute. And then over in the National League, Phillies with a couple of wins. Cardinals were there a couple of times. Cubs were there a couple of times. So, again, just a handful of teams kind of getting it done. Let's take a look at the Detroit Tigers. They've won the last 2 World Series. They've got 3 division titles in a row. Detroit Tigers come on strong here, led by Sean Green, who's now 32 years old and has 380 career home runs. Brian Daubach, now 30 years old. He's having himself a career as well. 318 home runs for the Dauber. They got Carl Crawford in center. They got Jeets playing shortstop. Derek Jeter, the 4th overall pick in 1994. He's now 31, up over 2,000 hits for his career. Ruben Sierra still trucking away at age 40. Look at Ruben, 20 years almost with the Detroit Tigers. 3,300 hits, 600 home runs for El Caballo, Ruben Sierra. John Thompson, John Halama. And not a great pitching staff, but really, really good offense. Minnesota Twins. Let's look at the Twins' history. Because I believe they won a bunch of division titles, but just could not get over the hump. Yeah, from 96 to 2002. So in a 7-year span, they won 5. They made it to the playoffs 5 times, not able to get a victory though. The Red Sox, they were another team that had some success here over the last decade. Going back to 95, they have 4 division titles and 2 World Series championships. Johnny Damon, member of the Red Sox. Has he been there? No, he was with the Cubs until 2003. This team isn't particularly good, but Jeff Jenkins is there. Troy O'Leary, Eric Lee. Over the National League, I've already forgotten some of the teams. The Cubs, the Phillies, and the Cardinals. Let's look at the Cubbies. Chicago Cubs do have Alex Rodriguez. That I'm aware of. He's now 30 years old. He was the first overall pick in 93. He has hit 40 home runs or more 7 straight seasons. He's got 384 home runs. He's going to come up well short of real-life A-Rod, but still a very good career there. Raul Mondesi, 34 years old. After spending the first 8 years of his career with Cincinnati, last 5 with the Cubs, having a nice career. Barry Zito, having a pretty solid run here with Chicago. They got Miggy. Going into his 10th season with the Cubs. He's been okay. He looks like he got hurt here. But actually, no, it just doesn't look like he played much. Here. Darren Erstad, 31, 300 hitter. Wow, 237 hits in the year 2000 for Erstad. He's had a nice career. Very underrated player, Darren Erstad. And then, was it St. Louis? And yes, I'll show you Barry Bonds here in just a minute. St. Louis 1-1, Philadelphia 1-1. So if we look at the Cardinals, what do they got going on? They got Robbie Cano, a 23-year-old Robinson Cano. Rookie campaign, 20 home runs. This isn't a good Cardinals team. They finished in last place. But if we look at their 99 team, Mike Greenwell, the Gator, 32 home runs. Will Clark is an old team. Ellis Burks. Ellis was my favorite player growing up. Ellis was my guy. He was drafted by the Cardinals. Ended up with 2,800 hits, 524 home runs. Ellis is a surefire Hall of Famer. You love to see it. He was my guy growing up. So yeah, that was a pretty good offense. And then the Phillies, I guess, are the only other team we want to look at. 98 and 64. They got John Olerud. He's trucking away at age 37. 3,100 hits for John. 400 home runs. He's a Hall of Famer. Nate McLouth. He had a couple of decent seasons. 2008 with Pittsburgh, he was pretty good. Now a 39-year-old Matt Williams spent his entire career with Philadelphia. 623 home runs, 3,000 hits. And Barry Bonds. Let's take a look at the myth, the man, the legend. He is retired, and he hit 959 career home runs. He was good for 206 WAR. Crazy thing is he did not have 3,000 hits because he walked so damn much. Had a career on-base percentage of .452, came up about 270 hits shy of 3,000, but almost 1,000 home runs, 2,300 RBIs, 2,500 walks, 1,000 stolen bases, career .302 hitter, 209 career OPS plus, 206 career WAR for Barry Bonds. Yeah, he had himself a career. So that's it for this run through. So I'm going to now sim ahead to opening day 2023, and that will be the end of the playthrough. We'll go in and we'll look at career stats. We'll look at league. We'll look at the leaders for all the important categories, and we'll put a cap on this one. So I'll be back in 18 years, guys. All right, guys, we are done. It is opening day in the year 2023, and it was a fun final 18 seasons. We saw a lot of big numbers go up. So if we stopped here in 2005, and we saw more parity here down the stretch, I think, than we did. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, actually. I mean, I said that last time, but I don't know if that's actually the case. So starting in 2005, the Indians, so from 2005 to 2023, so 18 years, or 13 years, right? Yeah, 18 years, 17 years, because 2023 didn't get played. The Indians made 3 World Series. Seattle made 1. Tampa had a nice run. They made 1, 2, 3 World Series. They won 2. The Twins made a World Series. The Red Sox with 3 more appearances, 2 more World Series wins. I think the Red Sox, honestly, were probably the most successful team in this. That wasn't set up that way, but we started in 75. They won, they made the playoffs 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 times in whatever that is, from 75 to 2003, almost 50 years. So, I mean, it's only once every 3 years, but they won 6 World Series in that time. So 6 World Series between 75 and 2003. The Angels were pretty successful down the stretch. They ended up with Mike Trout, which was really neat. I like how some of this worked out. Bonds ends up with the Giants. Trout ends up with the Angels, and the Rockies. Their offense was just an absolute joy to watch here over the last decade. Made a couple of World Series, weren't able to win it. The Reds won 3 World Series in this final run. The Cubs made 3 straight back in the early 2000s. But yeah, I posted some of these numbers to Discord, but I want to just show you some of the Rockies numbers here. So they hit 300 as a team in 2022. That's BABIP, excuse me. 286 as a team in 2019. So look at some of these ridiculous numbers. 11.4 WAR for Mookie Betts. Carlos Quentin's career. Carlos Quentin just had a monster career. He's got almost 800 home runs on the season, all of them in Colorado. Just look at some of these ridiculous numbers. He had a great career. Ketel Marte. Wow, Ketel Marte was an animal. He's 29 years old right now. 1,500 hits. Look at that. 5 straight seasons of over 200 hits. 6 out of 7 years. Just ridiculous numbers. I mean, over 10 WAR 5 times. He's well on his way to a Hall of Fame career. Yeah, they had some 75 home runs, 160 runs knocked in for Stanton. Look, 75, 61, 63, 70 in his last 4 seasons. 650 home runs at age 32. He could challenge Bonds as well. So just some crazy, crazy, crazy numbers. So overall, is there a way to see which teams won the most World Series? Oh, that's just accomplishments. Teams? Yeah, I guess like this. So the Red Sox end up with the second most amount of titles overall. They've got 11. They won 6 during that run. Yeah, I think they were the most successful franchise. The Giants won 4 in a row, but I think over that span, the Red Sox won more World Series than anybody else. Let's take a look at the leaderboards. So no change there. Chipper Jones is the major league leader in games, at bats, and runs. Let's take a look at Chipper's career. Look at that. 25 seasons all with the Minnesota Twins. Chipper ends up with 4,000 hits, almost 800 home runs. He would have hit 800 if he hadn't missed time here, but 793 home runs for Chipper, 4,000 hits, 152 WAR. Chipper Jones with a monster career. Ty Cobb. John Olerud, the all-time leader in doubles. Actually, let's look at hits first. So Adrian Beltre finishes third all-time in hits. You'll love to see that. Spent his entire career with the Baltimore Orioles. It's a 21-year career, 3,800 hits, 578 home runs for Beltre. Aaron finished fourth. John Olerud, we're about to look at him, finishes fifth all-time. Started his career with Cincinnati, went over to Philadelphia in the early 2000s, finished his career 3,700 hits, almost 500 career home runs. Miguel Cabrera is still going strong at age 39. Already has 3,600 hits. He'll likely end up over 4,000 hits as well. Entire career with Milwaukee, entering his 20th season. Miggy still has that 70 contact. Alex Rodriguez, I said he wasn't going to end up with a similar career. It turns out he did. So played until he was 41, finished up his career with the Nationals, almost 700 home runs, 3,500 hits, just uber consistent. I mean, look at it, just crazy consistent. Had that stretch in the early 2000s where he hit over 40 home runs every year, but just super consistent. A-Rod, Tony Fernandez, we talked about, Ruben Sierra. So yeah, some changes to the all-time hits leader. Chipper Jones, the all-time leader in total bases. We talked about Olerud as the career in doubles. Barry Bonds led the majors in home runs. Sammy Sosa finishes number 2, starts his career with Baltimore, goes over to Cincinnati, finishes with 818 home runs to go along with almost 3,300 hits. Only 81 WAR though. Only 81 WAR. That average not super high. Only 81 WAR and 800 home runs. Bit of a surprise there. Chipper we talked about. Carlos Quentin we talked about. Albert Bell played his entire career with Toronto, hit 722 home runs, 33. So obviously the offense is up a ton in this sim compared to real life. But that's okay. That's what makes it fun. Chili Davis we talked about. Alex Rodriguez. Manny, 688 career home runs, all with the Seattle Mariners. 3,300 hits. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it handled the aging curve pretty well here. Frank Thomas played till he was 42 at 700 home runs, 3,500 hits. Richie Sexson, 13th all-time in home runs with 660. Giancarlo Stanton, yeah, he's 15th all-time, and he's only played 12 seasons. Stanton in Colorado is just unfair. His career is going to end up being crazy. Schmidt, Robertson, Howard Johnson, Hojo. Played the majority of his career with the Mariners, went over to the Dodgers to finish his career. A lot of stolen bases for Hojo. There's Griff at number 19. Played with Kansas City his whole career. Very similar career to what he put up in real life. Giambi, Delgado. Chipper Jones, all-time leader in RBIs. Bell, Bonds, Aaron. Yeah, a lot of names we've already looked at. Albert Pujols played his entire career with the Tampa Bay Rays. 600 home runs, 3,400 hits. Sorry, I just sent a quick email. What are we looking at? RBIs, yeah. So Jones, Bell, Bonds. So top three players in our world are the top 3 there. Hanley Ramirez, the all-time leader in stolen bases, really. Hanley Ramirez with 1,100 career stolen bases. I did not see that coming. Hanley still going with Tampa, 2,800 hits, 400 home runs, 1,100 stolen bases for Hanley. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Followed by Henderson. Barry Bonds finishes third. And some fun names up there. Donnell Nixon. Kirk Gibson plays his entire career with Seattle. Steals almost 1,000 bases. Hits 600 career home runs. Walks Frank Thomas. Barry Bonds, the all-time leader in WAR by a lot over Babe Ruth. Let's take a look at some of the single seasons. So Bonds had the all-time record for home runs in a season with 86. Miguel Sano had 82 home runs back in 2019. The 29-year-old with 378 career home runs, all with the Angels. Joey Gallo was 77 home runs for the Cubs. Stanton 75. Yordan Alvarez with 270 home run seasons to his name. Bonds Ronald Acuna 69 home runs as a 68 home runs as a 21-year-old. Oof. Jonathan Scope on the list. Jonathan Scope making an appearance at age 31. 431 career home runs. Mike Trout, currently sitting at 31 years old, 124 WAR, 1,800 hits, almost 600 home runs. So yeah, absolute metric ton of offense in this this playthrough. Pitching wise, Kevin Brown, is that the Kevin Brown who pitched for the Yankees and the Rangers and whatnot? Yeah, it is. Okay, so he was a closer in this world. Saved 617 games. John Mitchell appears in 1,300 games over a 20-year career with the New York Mets. Interesting. Greg Swindell had 617 career home runs. Nolan Ryan, the all-time strikeout king. Vincent Velasquez, 13.75 strikeouts per 9 innings. A lot of strikeouts. Let's look at the strikeout leaders. Mark Pryor finishes second all-time in a career exclusively with the Arizona Diamondbacks, 241 wins. You like seeing Mark Pryor stay healthy. 4,300 strikeouts for Pryor. Jose Rijo finishes third, all with the Phillies. And then Kerry Wood, Kid K, with Colorado, Minnesota, and Baltimore, finishes fourth all-time. Randy Johnson, Dwight Gooden, some important names on there. How'd the Rockets' career end up? 245 and 207, all with Cincinnati. Anything interesting here? Lucas Giolito with 54 saves for Cincinnati. That's an all-time record this past season. Hunter Harvey struck out almost 16 batters an inning last season. 318 strikeouts in 180 innings for Hunter Harvey. Wow. So that is that, guys. That's some pretty cool stuff. So I can go back in. If you guys leave a comment below if you want to take a look at a particular player or a particular team, I'd be happy to pull the stats up and respond in chat. So that's going to do it, guys. This was a fun one. This took me most of the day while I was sitting here working. I was just sort of simming ahead. And yeah, this was a fun one to do. So, yeah, I think the next episode that I'm going to do, the next What If, is going to be, I'm going to start back in 1876 or whenever the game starts, and I am going to change all of the modifiers to the 1968 season, which was the year that there was no offense, and I want to see what the history of the majors will look like with that. And then from there, I will probably do I'll figure out which season. It's either going to be 87 or one of the steroid years, see which one has the best offensive numbers, and we'll start in 1876 with that. If you have any other suggestions, guys, I'm all ears. I'd love, this is going to be fun to do, to kind of bridge that gap until Out of the Park 24 comes out. So that's going to do it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.